Hello, I'm Julie Powers, and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, Happy Cells and Souls. And as a licensed Zumba instructor and as a partner with the Juice Plus company, my mission in life is to help people know that life is better when they're dancing through it, and I want to inspire healthy living around the world. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level. And in doing that, I want people to recognize that they only get one body while they're here on earth, and they really need to take care of that. But I also want people to know that we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be joyful, and I want people to live into that joy. And so one of the things that I like about this channel is that I get to have conversations with some really interesting people. And I've met a lot of really interesting people over my life. And one of those is going to be on our show today. Her name is Abby Haguewood. And I would really like for everybody to just listen up because this is something that I'm learning about too. And I feel like everybody has a story to share. Everybody has something that we can learn from. And it doesn't matter what our backgrounds are, what our beliefs are, what our culture is. Everyone can learn something from everyone else. And so today we are going to learn about Abby being a midwife, which is actually referred to as midwifery, which I did not know that until recently. But Abby and I met through the Juice Plus company, but she is a midwife in Missouri and in rural Missouri. And I just think it's very fascinating because I've heard of doulas, I've heard of midwives, but I didn't know really what the difference is. And I really didn't know what a midwife does and how cool it is. So Abby, I'd like for you to sort of tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with this whole career. And let's just have a conversation.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm just so inspired by the way you live and inspire people. So thank you
Right.
so much. So I'm Abby. I am a certified professional midwife, and I've been in the birth world for a little over 4 years now. And kind of where my passion and my love for midwifery came is just simply my love for motherhood and my love for families. And I grew up on just a small farm to where we did a lot of our own gardening, raising our own animals, and just kind of getting back to the basics of life and just kind of doing things the old way. I guess you would call them the old way, but I just call them
Isn't that
the
sad that it's the old way?
I know it really is. It's just the way the design process is to work. So I believe there's a good design, and I believe that we should follow and live by that good design in exercising and eating. And then as far as childbearing and growing babies. And so about 4 years ago, I started, after living on a farm, helping deliver cows and piglets and working with baby animals. I was like, well, I guess helping deliver babies wouldn't be too different. I mean, really, that's kind of what got me started is growing up on a farm and then loving motherhood. And so 4 years ago, I started working at a birth center in Springfield, Missouri, and training there, getting all of my skills in, my education in. And so that was a pretty much a 24/7 internship for 3.5 years
Yeah, I
while
guess you really do have to kind of be on 24 hours a day when you're dealing with pregnant moms.
Yes, yes. And so the way kind of midwifery call works is we don't have scheduled inductions. Unless there's a reason to, then we refer them to the hospital. But yeah, it's basically the baby's schedule. Whenever that baby's ready to roll, then we have to drop everything we're doing. So yeah, that's why you have a 24/7 on-call system. And I was on call, still am, probably will be for the rest of my life. And yeah.
Very good. So can you tell us, first of all, what does a midwife offer? Why would, and I'm way past childbearing time. I'm done. I'm done. I had my two children and I'm done with that. But I know a lot of young women who are just having their first babies or maybe having second or third, but they're used to going to their doctor and going to a hospital to deliver. And, that's something that's very comfortable for people now because that has become the norm, even though it's not the way it used to be, of course. And not everything was better necessarily in the olden days, but there is a natural order, as you said, and it's like it's just being back to basics. So,
Yeah.
what does a midwife offer to someone in today's world? Why would
Mhm.
somebody want to use a midwife?
Yeah, sometimes I think when people hear in this day and age hear of a midwife or think of a home birth or birth center birth, they think we have chicken feet in a big stew pot, stirring it in the backyard, just letting a mom hang by a, just holding on to a tree and squatting and birthing her baby, and that has nothing to do with what we have to offer or what we do. So midwives used to be the norm. You see it. I don't know if any of you have seen the show called The Midwife, but that used to be the thing. Like midwives would just deliver babies. And I would say about 50 to 70 years ago is when OBGYN started really becoming more popular. And so it was kind of a status thing. Like if you were wealthy and you had money, then you could go see a doctor. And so it just grew into a popularity thing. And as a midwife, first of all, I love the medical system. I love our hospital system. I love our nurses and our doctors. But I do have to say, I believe we've kind of abused that system when it comes to pregnancy and when it comes to childbirth. So when women are interested in looking into midwifery care for their pregnancy, they have usually either had already had a baby in the hospital and they had interventions that weren't necessary. I believe interventions are good when they are necessary, but that's why I think sometimes the system has been abused and things
Mm.
happen because it's a preference thing or comfortable thing. I know I've heard women say I had to be induced because my doctor was going on vacation and both parties were fine with that. But um, but yeah, moms coming to me realize the care from a midwife. I'm not gonna say, okay, I'm going on vacation in 2 days. We need to get this thing rolling. It's on their timetable and it's up to whenever their body's ready to do it. So I think, yeah, women who contact me have either already had a baby in the hospital or their mom has had care from midwives. And so they just want to have a natural approach to it because pregnancy is a good design and it's a normal design. And of course, some bad things can go wrong. Pregnancy can be risky, and that's when it gets risky. Then we go to see a doctor and go to the hospital. But 90% of the time, in a healthy mom who has a good nutritional foundation and who is thriving, she is going to have an amazing outcome. And really, there's no intervention needed. And so, in that situation, when you have a mom who is just flying with great colors and just exercising every day, has a good sleeping regimen, nutrition regimen. She just has a baby beautifully, and my job is to be the protector of the normal and the good design.
Right. So, when would a pregnant mom seek out your care? I believe that you've told me that you can do prenatal, you
Mhm.
can do labor and delivery, and you can do postpartum. So, at what stage would you normally recommend that somebody use a midwife? On all three, or it's really kind of dealer's choice? Basically, they can decide when they want to have your services and when they want to choose, regular medical care.
Yeah. So I'll give you a few examples of what I've worked with in the past. So I've worked with women who aren't even pregnant yet, and they come to me saying, "Hey, can you give me some advice on how I can prepare my body to conceive a baby? What
Oh, how
supplements?"
brilliant is that, that somebody's actually asking that question?
I know, and I love that. I mean, I love those women and those parents, the couples who come to me and say, "We want to be in our best healthy place we can be before we try to conceive a baby. So, what do you recommend?" And they want to build a relationship with me because, man, having that one-on-one care of your provider, knowing not just your vital signs, but your emotions and your
Right.
stressors, they want to build that relationship. And so, I've worked with preconception clients. I've had people take a pregnancy test and call me 10 minutes later and say, hey, finally got a pregnancy test. I'm ready to meet with you and talk to you. And then I've had clients who have been seeing a doctor or a nurse midwife in a hospital setting pretty much all the way through their pregnancy until their third trimester. And then they decide they want to have a home birth instead of a hospital birth. And they talk to their nurse midwife or their doctor about that. And their provider there at the hospital, they give them their blessing and say, yeah, sure. If you want to leave our care and go have a home birth, you're absolutely low risk enough to do so. And so I've had those families call me at that point in time, and we establish care kind of later in pregnancy. So I do pre-pregnancy, as soon as you do get a positive test, or in third trimester. And yeah, I do prenatal care as a midwife. Midwives offer lots of nutritional counseling. I mean, that's a huge aspect of our education and our skill set. Doctors know how to do surgery, midwives don't, but doctors don't know how to address nutritional issues either. And I
Right.
believe, yeah, like their education is just a small bit of nutrition, and that's fine. That's, they're trained to go in and perform a surgery if they need to. And anyway, so yeah, as a midwife, I offer nutritional counseling. And when a mom comes in to see me for a prenatal, I usually address like all the issues. How are you doing emotionally? How did you sleep last night? What's your sleep level like? We go over all the supplements she's on. We talk about vitamins and minerals and things that will help nourish her baby. We talk about her support system, because sometimes women come to me and their husband's working all the time, or they're working all the time. They don't have, a lot of family support. And so I kind of step in and fill that role too. So if a mom doesn't have her mom to help her and support her, then I might be a little bit more on call for that mom to help her and step in. But
Right.
but yeah, measure and listen to the baby, get all the mom's vital signs. I do blood work, all of the stuff that would be done pretty much at your OB's office. But I usually visit with my moms anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half in both prenatal and postpartum appointments.
Great. And so as part of the postpartum appointments, what do you cover at that point? What are you helping the moms with? Is it Do you see a lot of postpartum depression that you're helping people through, or is it more just counseling on how to continue taking good care of yourself while the baby is out now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So postpartum, I see my moms, first of all, in our country, the postpartum care we have in the medical system is basically zero. Like you will take your baby to see the pediatrician and you might see your OB once or twice, but that care is just so small. And so as a midwife, I love the freedom that I have to be able to see my mom multiple times after she has her baby. So I see my mamas 24 hours after their birth, 3 days after their birth, and I'm doing this all in their home. So I'm coming to them. They're not having to get their kids and pack them up and put them in the van and go and
Right.
drive to the doctor's office and wait 20 to 30 minutes. Like I come directly to them. I check in on the mom and the baby, get all their vital signs, and I'm looking at how is breastfeeding going. That's part of a midwife's education. We're very skilled in helping with breastfeeding education and knowing what to look for. Is baby latching terribly? Does the baby have a lip or tongue tie? How's the mom's milk supply? And we go over all of that. We go over healing, because you just pushed a child out, you pushed a human
Right.
being out. And so there are going to be some pains and some aches and some bruises that we're addressing, and just encouraging moms to rest as much as possible. And yeah, again, like the nutritional aspect of it, addressing that, addressing their emotional state. It's very common for a lot of moms to have postpartum blues, and it's also common for moms to have postpartum depression, and that can even last up to a year of after they have their baby. I've answered multiple phone calls of women calling me having an anxiety attack over the phone
Mm.
because of hormonal imbalance, and just being able to walk them through that, and then going to visit them and helping to calm them down. That is just, it can make me kind of emotional thinking about it, but just being there to support those women during their most vulnerable times is the most
Right.
magical thing.
I think, that is really brilliant because as I said, I had two children. I had my children, in a hospital,
Mhm.
just had normal medical care, from the United States. I thought it was thorough. I thought it was fine. But you're right. Once you have the baby, they give you as much time as they can in the hospital to show you how to breastfeed, and sometimes that works really well and sometimes it doesn't. And then once you get home and you don't have anything to really rely on except books, friends who
Mhm.
may or may not know the answers, and your mother if she's around, and mine was, but she and I had very different experiences in childbirth and in nursing and trying to do that. And she had her babies in the 60s and 70s when nursing was not really something that moms did. Everything was about formula. And so, she didn't have the answers that I needed. So it would have been really nice to have somebody who I could have called that knew me already, not just a hotline number for, lactation specialist. Help me, because it didn't work out very well for me, and so I wasn't able to really do that. But maybe I could have if I had had more coaching. I don't know. And then
Yeah.
two, after you have a baby, there are things like the first baby, you're like, whoa, I didn't realize I was going to walk around with a bag of mashed potatoes in my stomach, and just things that you don't really think about because
Yep.
nobody's really told you. And so I'm sure that those are the kinds of things that you're there for, to help moms go
Yeah.
through and to understand, and why is it like that, and this is normal and this is not, and we need to have this checked out, and now it's time to see a medical professional because you do have an issue, or don't worry, it's all going to be okay, this too
Yeah.
will pass. So that's
Yes.
great to know. um, so we have about 3 to 5 minutes left of this conversation, and so I'd like for you to explain the difference between a doula and a midwife, because I've heard both terms and I don't really know the difference.
Right. No, I love that question. That's a great question. I get that question quite a bit. So a doula, I love doulas. They're amazing. Every single woman who delivers in a hospital setting needs to have a doula. Doulas, basically their training, because I was trained as a doula before I even entered into the midwifery field. But yeah, your training as a doula, you basically take a 3-day weekend training. You read 3 to 4 books, you write an essay, and you attend 3 births. And then you're a certified doula. And doulas offer a lot of emotional and just kind of physical support when it comes to labor. Doulas are knowledgeable about medical things, but they do not have any medical training. They don't have any medical responsibility. Their responsibility is just to basically be a friend to a mom, right?
Right.
So in labor, typically the doula will meet with you about 2 times at the end of your pregnancy, and then the mom will call the doula when she's in labor and say, hey, I'm on my way to the hospital now. And the doula will meet her there and basically be her advocate in that medical system. And
Gotcha.
I know a lot of nurses love doulas because the doulas kind of take pressure off of the nurses, because nurses have so much to do. They're on their feet all the time and they have so many patients to attend. And so
Right.
when a doula comes in with a mom, nurses appreciate that, just because nurses can take a step back and then provide their medical care and not worry as much about providing as much emotional.
Not doing the hand holding and the
Yeah.
breathing coaching, if especially if dad is not in the picture, and there are a lot of single moms that need that extra, support.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Right.
So that's basically what a doula does. And then what a midwife does is a midwife does those things kind of as a doula. She's compassionate and walks with the mom, emotionally and just as her friend. But a midwife has tons, like 4 years of medical training and all these skills she's had to check off and all this experience she's had to go through. She's had to pass a huge exam that has a million questions on it, right? And she has medical responsibility, and her job as a midwife is to be the protector of the normal design and to be the one that can call out the red flags if there's a problem, and address the normal emergency issues that happen in pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
Gotcha. So in like a minute, not to put you on the spot, but can you think back to any of your experiences being a midwife to a mom, and either after the birth, if it was the mom, the dad, or someone else involved with that experience, was there anyone that really stood out and, had either a conversation with you about it or sent you a message about it, or just something that you remember that was just like, this was so amazing?
Man, there's so many stories. I mean, I've been to over 300 deliveries, so it's hard to choose just one. Um, but I will get messages from a parent whose child is 3 years old, and they'll say, I still could not have delivered my baby without you being there, without you just looking at me directly in the face and telling me you can do this and it's going to be okay. So I get that helper's high when you help someone as a midwife. But I think the most precious thing someone has said to me recently, and I've said this already, but I was walking out of the delivery about a month and a half ago, and I had all my bags on me. I was packing up, ready to leave, putting my tools away, and the dad turns to me and he goes, "Thank you so much for being the protector of this good design. Like, we felt that you provided the emergency skilled care that we needed, as well as trusting the design, that this is so normal." And I just got home and I cried after that, because just the way he said it was so beautiful. But yeah, I love all the families I worked with over the years, and everyone has had such kind things to say. And it's the families who are the real rock stars and the real heroes. But yeah, yeah.
That's really amazing. And I just think it's so fascinating that there are these areas of life that I have never really had personal experience with, but I do know a lot of women who have chosen to do more natural births, and some that have done water births and home births. And um, I've never been to one. I've never seen one in person, but I've seen some amazing videos of these types of deliveries. And I think it's fascinating what you do. And it's definitely necessary for a lot of people to be able to take back that normal way of life and
Yeah.
doing things naturally. And so thank you very much for sharing this information, and I'm going to include some contact information in the description below, so that if someone
Yeah.
local here near Southeast Missouri would be able to contact you, they can do that. Or maybe they just have some questions about it in general, and you can help connect them to your place in Springfield that you worked with. But thank you so much, Abby. It has been a joy learning about this, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Julie.